See, I'm not even gonna lie to you, bruv. The first thing that moved me was money. I swear. So back in my mind, like wholeheartedly, I thought if I shoot a movie in Africa, because that's what it was at the time. It wasn't even like Zambia.
It was like
Africa.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I shoot a movie in Africa, I'm gonna go back to the UK and I'm gonna have some proper brownie points because
I know the one you Beast of No Nation.
Beast of No Nation, yeah. So it was a big deal. So I'm gonna give you $1 million. Everyone here, Nando's on me, bruv. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it was. But then what I didn't realize is money runs out.
Yeah.
No shade, but shade. I'm throwing a whole tree, bruv. I want to be a big boy in London. So
Wrap it up. What would you want to tell the people there? What's happening, people? And welcome to the Underrated Individuals podcast. Today, I've got a special guest. He's a brother, he's a friend, he's CEO, he's creative director, he's cinematographer, videographer.
Well, go on, Kazadi.
David Kazadi's in the house.
What are you telling me? I'm happy to be here. And Gob's shooting, so I know it's going to be good. You know, we're not going to miss no shots, innit? No shade, but shade. I'm throwing a whole tree, bruv.
Bad. So, I like, you know what? I'm gonna keep this light. I'm gonna keep this quick. First question is, how come my man has spent so much time backyard? We talking London,
Back in the ends,
yeah. And then he's ended up here. Like, how, fam, and why? What drove the thing to make you want to come here?
See, I'm not even going to lie to you, bruv. The first thing that moved me was money. I swear. So my uncle, who's obviously been here longer than I have, kept telling me to come back, and we had this back and forth. Now, understand that as part of my grand plan, I was planning to come back here. Do you know what I mean? I always knew I wanted to come back and do something here. But then I didn't want to I just thought it was one of those things you want to do, but you're going to keep on pushing it. So he would always come, because that was when he was building a lot of the infrastructure, and be like, come, let's go and do this thing back home. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to come. Yeah, don't watch that. And then next year he'll come back and I'll tell him the same story. So one time he said to me, right, listen, you've been dodging, and I know you've been dodging, so I'm going to give you $1 million. Come back home. Whatever you want to do with $1 million is up to you. But come home, be there for a good 6 months, and the money's yours. All you got to do is just be around, watch, do a few things. So I feel like he he had it all planned out, because I was like, all right, cool, bruv, it's $1 million, innit? What's the worst that can happen? So I come, and I'm watching stuff, and I'm studying, and I'm understanding, and I'm like, okay, might as well shoot a movie, innit? So that's when we shot Black Dollar. We were sort of planning to shoot Black Dollar. So I'm like, if I'm here, and in the back of my mind, like wholeheartedly, I thought if I shoot a movie in Africa, because that's what it was at the time. It wasn't even like Zambia.
It was like
Africa.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if I shoot a movie in Africa, I'm gonna go back to the UK and I'm gonna have some proper brownie points, because
now you're man.
I've been to Africa and I shot a movie, and that was back then. That was back in the days when Idris had done the Ugandan film. The one
I know the one you Beast of No Nation.
Beast of No Nation, yeah. So it was a big deal. Do you know what I mean? Everyone was like, oh, yeah, we like this African thing. So I was like, bro, I'm going to do something similar. And this, you know what I mean? I'm going to be a big boy in London. So I come in and we plan it. 6 months turns into a year turns into 2 years, 2 years turn into 3 years. And then COVID happened. So
so you can't move.
You can't really move.
But you don't want that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really want to get into the UK with all the restrictions. So you're like, okay, cool, let's make it work. Then I genuinely... I fell in love with Zambia and Africa, and I fell in love with my initial plan. Then I quickly realized that, sometimes you sit here and you're making these plans and you're thinking, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, and you kind of feel like it's so far-fetched, but you don't realize you're speaking into the world, you're speaking into God, and God's listening. And when he opens the floodgates, I read, when I was young, I used to read a book about, there's a story about, is it Noah? Noah? No, is it, who got swallowed by a fish? What's his name? Jonah. Man said Noah. My pastors are going to be so disappointed.
No.
Man said Noah. Anyway, same thing. Noah drowned or something, innit? Yeah. So one drowned, one got swallowed by this water, innit? So Jonah got swallowed by a fish because he was supposed to go to one place and then he was avoiding it. I kind of feel like that because I was too comfortable with the UK system, even though it was broken and corrupt, and there was just so many blockage to entry for someone like me. But you were comfortable in your slavery. Oof, I said that on camera. I was comfortable in my slavery.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Is like you just said it, but that's a realization right there.
Yeah.
Because it is that.
Yeah.
Like people may you know what we can try and hide it and stuff, but I say this even here in Zambia, like most artists are comfortable
In slavery.
You know,
write that down.
Yeah, because what happens is you get so addicted to the limelight. You know, you're enjoying the niceness of it, but then it's not part of your calling, really.
100%.
You know, and if you don't serve your calling, eventually everything that you feel you're on that high horse, it just stops making sense and it just crumbles.
100%.
You know, so okay, so now we've ended up in this space. Years have gone on. You've kind of started to establish your prowess in this space, you know, like people are like, rah, my man's doing his thing. When you got here, did you feel like you could conquer Zambia like overnight?
Yes, I did. I had the savior mentality, which of course it's kind of infused in you when you grow up in the UK. Do you know what I mean? Because the representation of the UK of Africa is one of people who constantly need a helping hand. One, you know what I mean? So I already came in with a savior's mentality, like, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do that. It was a lie. It was an absolute lie. God-founded lie. Bruv, I can't make this up because, okay, cool. Granted, I'm privileged enough to go to film school and, I have a bit of money and I have family ties and family connections. But how Zambia or Africa works is completely different to how the Europe works. Do you know what I mean? Like the West and, parallels. So I'm coming in and I'm trying to be like, if I just set up 1, 2, 3, 4 systems, then I'm good. Was I humbled? Wait, I was humbled. So nothing worked the Western way. Yeah. And whether you call it, whether you think the Western way is the right way or the African way is the right way, at that point it didn't really matter. Do you know what I mean? It just didn't work.
It wasn't.
And so I quickly realized, because also I'm a fast learner, like I'm like a sponge. Yep. I started observing things around me and I quickly realized, okay, cool. There is strength that I have, but there's also weakness if I stick only to the stuff that I know. Do you know what I mean? I have to stop it. And you told me at some point, you were like, brother, this is going to happen, you better fix up. So when things started happening to me, because brother, let's use a practical example, yeah? I came in, I was spending pounds in kwacha. So to get a Nando's meal, I was spending on average 2 to 3 pounds. So I was like, this is crazy because in the UK, bro, I'm like spending
15,
you know
20
quid.
Yeah,
20, 30 quid on a piece of chicken. So now I'm getting a piece of chicken for 3 pounds. So I'm inviting everyone, bro. It's a feast. Yeah, I'm like, everyone here, Nando's on me, bro. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it was that. But then what I didn't realize is money runs out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it sounds really dumb for someone like me to say it, but it was a realization that money does run out. And when money started running out, in pounds. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Because I was like, but if I spend a couple, 2, 3 quid, done. Do you know what I mean? There's kwachas anyway. But then when the pound ratio to the kwacha ratio started diminishing, then I started realizing, right, David, you're losing money, but you're only going to catch this million when you've done your 6 months. What are you going to do now? Do you know what I mean? So that's when I came to the realization, I mean, not just money, it was a few other things, that let me learn as much as I'm trying to teach. Yeah. And when I found that perfect balance, that's sort of when things started working out. And that's when I really fell in love with what I was trying to do back here. Because, and I'm going to say this on record, Zambia has some of the smartest, most creative people I have met in life, period. Yeah. The problem is that half of them don't even know it. Yeah.
Rav.
That's a problem.
I'm glad he said it. But so the thing about, I guess, as I said, being here and understanding that is being in this world, everyone's creative. And you've got artists, basically. Yeah. Okay? Artists have a way of thinking.
Yes.
And then because you gain some sort of success in it, like I said this, like we were having a conversation and Abel was in the room and I said, it happens to all of them, including even artists like Abel, where you get this hype.
Yeah.
Right, and you on this one track where you're so good at this thing, you think you're good at everything.
Absolutely.
It happens in academia.
Absolutely.
Like people don't
Absolutely.
like academics think, oh, because I know so much about this one thing, I'm intelligent all around. And it's like, nah,
you're good at one thing.
Yeah. There's other elements that you need to develop in order for you to move.
100%.
So yeah, you are talented, you're gifted, and sometimes, as you said, most of the time in Zambia they don't know because there's been no structures to be like, you just think you're different.
Yeah. It's like the and I keep quoting the Bible. Maybe I've been going to church a bit too often these days. You see when you read where is this? Is this the story of Moses, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the children of Egypt or Israel, children of Israel, when they were in captivity and slavery, they didn't think they were in captivity and slavery.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They were behind some of the most creative pyramids. They didn't realize how creative they were. They didn't realize the kind of stuff that they were creating. They just thought, this is work. We do what we
This is what we have to do. Like,
But then it's when you look from outside in that you realize, I built a pyramid, or I was part of, do you know what I mean, the history.
Retrospect,
so
man.
until a slave is set free, they never realize how brilliant they firstly were, or how stifled they were within their creativity, because they were just a slave. You just had to do one and twos. Do you know what I mean? Because even for me, until I stepped out to the UK to come here, I didn't realize how brilliant I genuinely was outside of the UK trying to make me so small. Because in the UK, you know what I mean?
You're a man with the camp.
You're a man with the camp. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's all you are.
Like, and even because, I had some amazing mentors, people who have done billions and millions of blockbuster movies, and they were like my teachers and stuff. And they'll come and tell me, yeah, you're good, And I'd never realized just what they meant, because for me, it's like, bruv, there's me, there's Jerome, there's Abel, do you know what I mean? But then when I stepped out and I started looking from out in, I'm like, I am actually brilliant. I am actually this and this. But then if I stayed in the UK environment, or some of the specific environments that I was in, I would just be another peas in the pod and not realize that I'm probably not a pea. I'm probably a mango seed. A different seed. But because I'm in there, because the last person to notice you is yourself, because you never get to see yourself. Yeah. You see everyone around you, and you never know. If I'm in a room full of mangoes, I'm naturally going to assume I'm a mango, because I don't get to see myself. Yeah. So that's what that did for me as well.
That movement.
Yeah, it allowed me to be able to see. Yeah, I was in the UK and I thought I was a pea, but I'm not a pea. I'm probably corn.
What was the lowest point for you in your life, if you were to look back? Because I think, like, everyone knows David Kazadi as, the CEO now, and the man with this brand, this big brand. Because you actually are, funny enough, when we think about it, you're kind of like nearly on the ITV. You know that? Like, in terms of Zambia, you're kind of ITV.
Yeah.
Like,
it's crazy. Now that you say it, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you think about it, like, you've got history.
Yeah, of
and
course.
I wanna, without saying too much, because we both have very similar backgrounds.
They might not hire us again. What? You did what? You did?
So talk a little bit about growing up in London. What was that like?
That's a typical nonsense, man. You know what I mean? It's a typical nonsense. And for anyone who sort of grew up in that era and that time, you kind of, it sounds like it's the same story. And funny enough, it is the same story, because everyone went through the exact same nonsense. So we're not going to touch on that, but I will answer your question. I will answer your question on the lowest point in my life. I feel the lowest point, I've had 2 or 3 lowest points. Okay, some personal and some business related. The first one, well, I'll tell you, I won't tell them in any particular order. One of them will make you laugh though. The first one was when my high school teacher, high school headmaster, Mrs. what? Bloody hell, I forgot her name. See, that's how relevant she's become in my life. But yeah, she called for a meeting after I'd done my GCSEs. And I had really bad GCSEs. So she called a meeting with my mum and dad. And the ones were like, when the headmaster calls for a meeting with your mum and dad, it's either you've done really well or
Oh,
you've done
you've done
really,
really
really
bad.
bad. So I'm obviously coming and I'm chilling, and my mom and dad come. And, my mom and dad are both academics, so, they're smart people. So she sits in and she calls a bunch of teachers, and they all sit. And, white faces. The black teacher was on holiday or something, so he weren't there. The one black teacher we had. So she sits and she's like, Mr. and Mrs. Kazadi, I'm afraid I have to have this conversation. It's very rare that we have this conversation with parents and so on and so forth. And I'm like, where is this going? I've done nothing. You know what I mean? My record's good. I'm on time. I'm in classes. She goes, we unfortunately have to expel your son from school. So my mom's like, why? What did he do? Do you know what I mean? I'm not.
No,
concerned.
you're like, wow, what did I do?
Do you know what I mean? Expel. They're like, yeah, because after having done some assessment, it's dawned upon us that we believe that David Kazadi is educably mentally retarded. Yeah. How old was I? I was 15, turning 16. Now, you have to understand what that means for a 15, turning 16-year-old, yeah? My entire life, all I've known is my teacher's opinions. Do you understand?
Yeah.
They were my gods. They were my second parents. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If they say I'm good, I'm good. If they say
you're
I'm bad,
bad,
I'm
you're
bad.
bad. Yeah.
So to sit there and hear the people who basically held my life say they think I'm so dumb that school can't help me at all. Like I just should stop school. And then the further went on to say, mate, I was hurt. Even thinking about it now, you know, and I'm like gang, you know, I'm like, I'm big. Bruv, tears were like here. Do you know what I mean?
So lick down a few people, man.
I mean, so I'm sitting there and I'm listening to them, and they're like, yeah, maybe try them at bricklaying. What do they say? Try bricklaying. Try
basically get a trade job.
Get a trade job, and they recommended a few different things. So my dad looks at me. And my dad's a bit, he's a proper African man. So he was ready to come and like pounce on me and be like, see, I told you. Yeah. But then he looked at me and he just noticed that this one actually hurt. Yeah. So then he sort of started fighting them to sort of make me feel for once in my bloody life
that he's backing you.
Yeah, I mean, he's backing me. And it felt nice because the moment they said that, I kind of expected my parents to be like, you see, we told you. And on God, if my parents had said anything but support me in that moment in time, I would have changed. I would not be the David Kazadi you have today.
Yeah.
So I feel like whether it was God or just perfect timing, they chose the best time to be on my side. Yeah. So they told my dad turned around and told my teacher, I wish I could remember her name. This is your opinion, and we respect it. You've been his headmasters for a very, very long period. But unfortunately, I know my son and I know the promises. This is my dad, yeah? I know the promises that God has on his life, and he is intelligent. He's probably going through a few rough patches, but he's intelligent, and he's going to prove you wrong. Cool. We get up, we walk out. You know what I mean? I'm done with school. So we get in the car, then they do the African thing. You see? Like, that's what on the same side, right? So anyway, that was one of the lowest points. Of course, I proved them wrong. I went on to college, graduated at the top of my class. Do you know what I mean? And there's something about people telling you can't do something that really pushes you to do it, bruv. I didn't just want to succeed. I wanted to like over succeed. Do you know what I mean? Like, because you said I can't, I'm just gonna overachieve. So that was my first lowest point. The second one was when I was graduating from university. Something similar happened when I graduated from uni because we had a course called Design Futures. Yeah. And that course was supposed to...
Wait, in Manchester?
No, so staffs.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's like, it's near Manchester, but like, anyway, we had a course called Design Futures. So Design Futures was how do you term it? It's like a module that has you design who you want to become.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah, so like you break down your life after university. So, you had to break down, I think, 7 years down from your graduation, which for me was madness, but I'm so grateful for that course because anyone that I mentor, I basically tell them, you want me to mentor you? Do you know who you are? Do you know what you want? Cool. Sit down. Right. Yeah. Just show me who you think you're going to be and step by step. But like I had to literally sit for 6 months and design. By 2020, I'm going to do this. And this is 2014. 2021, I'm going to do this. And then I'm working backwards all the way up to 2014. So one of my things, which is what I said in the beginning, I always wanted to come back home. One of the things that I had was I had told or I designed in my Design Futures that I'm going to come to Africa, again, not Zambia, Africa. Because I had on my list of countries, I had Nigeria. Mm-hmm. I wanted to go and set up something in Nigeria. I want to set up something in Zimbabwe. Mm-hmm. I want to set up something in DRC. and I want to set up something in Ghana, because these were countries that I researched that I realized, okay, Nigeria has a bit of something going on, but it's not that strong, so it'll be a really easy market to enter. But then Zim, DRC, I think Ghana at the time, and Zambia wasn't even on my list. Do you know what I mean? Because for me, Zambia was like, I was born here by this flipping bush. So I designed these things, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go there, and I'm going to set up something, I'm going to do a studio, and I'm going to make a film. Like, I did the whole shebang. My teacher failed me on that module. Yeah, because, and to be fair, I think they were right. Because they were like, okay, cool. When they came and like had to assess me, they were like, so you want to go into Africa? When was the last time you were in Africa? I'm like, the last time I was in Africa, I was 5 years old. Like, so what do you know about Africa? I'm like, the research, isn't it? They're like, David, that's not how it works. Then he asked me, do you even have a passport? I'm like, no. So how are you planning to get to Africa? You don't have a passport. You've never been there. And then he said to me, very plain and simple, how these things work after you graduate from film school is you go into the industry, you work as a runner for a couple of years, then you scale up. Maybe you become a camera operator or first AC, second AC. Then you do, I mean, you climb up through rankings.
And then,
You're not going to go out there and own a studio. And I was like, the last time someone told me I couldn't do something, I did it. Do you know what I mean? So I was already in that space. So I was pumped up. Left uni, you know, zealous boy, you know, you're thinking,
you do your thing,
I'm the guy, you know what I mean? I'm from the ends. I get home, and I realize I'm in charge. And that might not mean to a lot to people who are listening, but bro, for someone whose entire life has been either mom and dad give you the instructions on what you need to do, wash the dishes, cut the grass in the back door, fix this, move the bins, whatnot, to teachers telling you your assignments, your homework, your this and your that, to now being fully in charge. Ain't no one telling you when you have a deadline. If you choose to sleep your life away, you're going to sleep your life away. And you're going to be a bum. If you choose to go out there and look for a job, you're going to look for a job and you're at the mercy of people giving you a job. So I went through that phase for the first time in my life. And I was so angry at my parents and at the world and at school because no one ever prepared you or prepared me for that part of my life. So I was like, what the hell is this? Then I got depressed. And I know it's depression now because I'm older and wiser and I know what depression is. But I didn't even know what I was going through. And that's what I was just so angry because life didn't make sense. I had these dreams that I didn't know how to actualize. I had these ambitions that I wanted to have. And every time I'm applying for a job, they see your last name. And this sounds funny.
Bro.
I'm going there. They see your last name and you're in the power. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and you kind of sense it when you pick up the phone because like you pick up the phone, hi, and you put your whitest voice. You know, hi, my name's David Kazadi. David what? Sorry, Kazadi. Could you spell that for me? Kilo Alpha Zulu Alpha Delta India. All right, David. We're gonna review it and we'll get back to you. They will never get back to you. Okay. The moment you've had to spell your name. Listen to me. If you have to spell your last name, it's done. Do you know what I mean? Like you're beyond minority, bruv. You know what I mean? Because you get some David Smith, you know, David what? You have a name like Kazadi, Banda, Chimwemwe. You're done for, mate.
Bro, that's mad because I remember when I first got to the UK in 2008, and I was cutting up with a friend, and I was doing my CV, and he said, "Yeah, leave your last name out." And I was like, "What?" Yeah. And he was like, "No, fam. Just put Jerome."
100.
And he's like, "Yeah, apply for all these other jobs." Because at that point, you're not applying for a job. You're applying just to like
anything.
Like anything, you
Yeah,
know, like,
McDonald's,
whatever.
I mean,
like,
whatever.
go on, you know. He's like, just leave it off. And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Trust me, they won't realize until it's
time to come to the job." But also, you see, you're kind of off the hook with that as well because you're mixed race.
Pull it up. What you want?
You know, just say you're mixed race. You know what I mean? So,
well, bruv, out there, man.
No, I mean, you're still a black man, but like you have a bit more of an advantage than a dark skinned brother like me. Are you catching what I'm saying? Because, bruh, firstly, I'm like dark skinned, and my name is David Kazadi.
Yeah.
Are you understand?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
So whereas, you know, if you're slightly like, and like the UK is nice, but there's systemic nonsense that happens, and we have to address these things if we want to deal with it. And I'm not speaking from a place of hate or bitterness because I love the UK, but it is what I lived. Do you know what I mean? It's my truth. So I never got a job. I never got a job. Okay. So now you're living in mum's house. after university, you have no job. So technically, there's basically nothing going on for you. Do you know what I mean? Like but you can't afford to get on a bus. It's that bad. And my mom's like a typical Bamba woman, yeah? So she will make you realize that you are jobless. Like, she will wake up in the morning to make sure, fam, oh my God. Oh my,
My mom's the
like,
same.
literally.
She's
do you
from
know
the
what I mean?
Copper Belt too, so
literally,
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
curtains. Why are you sleeping so late? Mom, like, so now you're dealing with depression. You're dealing with, you know, what I like to term tough love in the way of parenting. You're dealing with a system that basically won't give you a chance. Then you have your cousins on the streets selling drugs and doing all kinds of street madness. Kind of like, bro, come, let's just do this thing
this
real
thing,
quick.
yeah,
I mean, you
make
make some money. And, you know, there's that level of temptation. But then you're very brilliant. You know, you have a brilliant mind and you have these ambitions and so on and so forth. And no one really gets to... When you're depressed, no one seems to know, or maybe they pretend. Because I remember I used to ask myself, yeah? Because I used to sing in my church choir at the time while I'm depressed. And I had one suit that I would wear every Sunday. I'll wash it, wear it every Sunday, and I wear my funny shoes. And I'll come to church and I'll sing, and people will love it, and I'll play the instruments. And, you know, after church, they'll be like, oh, that was beautiful, David, da, 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 da. And I used to ask myself, can't these people just by looking at me notice that I'm suffering? Like, why isn't anyone like a helping hand? Do you know? Like, just, David, is there anything you need? Nothing. So I was just like, and you know, you start, when you're in that space again, you know, I don't know if it's the devil on your shoulder, like there's a lot of thoughts that they just keep coming at you. Do you know what I mean? Like, keep coming at you, yeah. Am I bad? Like, is it me? Am I the problem? Do you know what I mean? Maybe if, and I don't know what kind of podcast this is. Maybe, you know, like, you consider all your options, bro.
Of course.
Like, just end it. Do you know what I mean? Like, everything's on the table. And I got to a dark place, man. I got to a dark place, like dark. I'll send you some pictures, but I was as skinny as a twig. And the things that kept ringing is maybe the teachers were right. Maybe my uni teachers were right. Maybe I am a bum. Maybe this and maybe that. And the last thing that I wanted to do in my life ever was to be one of those job center kids. So, but then life kept lifing, innit? And I had a phone on finance, which I had when I had student loan and stuff. And I had to keep paying for my phone bill. So I went to job center, as embarrassed as I was, but when I'm walking into the job center like this. And they're like, what are you looking for? And I'm just like, I graduated and I've done this and I'm looking for jobs in this space and so on and so forth. So they, of course, they put you in a list of people that they can put you in charge of. Then, almost like a miracle, I got offered an internship at Pinewood.
Nice.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, but it came by virtue of work that I had done when I was in uni. So I'd done some work, you know, while I was in uni, everyone would come like get in class to do their thing and then they leave. I'll be the guy who would like book equipment every weekend.
Yeah,
so
you're doing things.
Yeah, I'm doing stuff.
Especially because you know the mandem.
Yeah,
and
you know
like,
what I mean?
at that time
videos.
we're all shooting everything.
So,
like everything.
So there's a guy who had gotten me on a music video for Ed Sheeran, like back then. So he calls me and it's like, you're still about? I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm looking for a second AC. I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, you went, because we went to the same uni. And he's like, yeah, I can come and do a thing. So I come through, and this brother's like, pay me. Do you know what I mean? And you have to understand, I hadn't made money for like a year. So anyone who's offering you anything, but you're doing it. So I come through, and I think he paid me. So the music video was £10,000. So I think he paid me about $1,000 from that, which was like big money. Do you know what I mean?
Especially when you're not making
You're
anything.
not making any money, bro. So I was like, bruv, I'll do it. And I did everything, and he loved it. Then he got me on another gig. Then he got me another gig. Then he got me another gig. And then that's how I got into the Pinewood. So at Pinewood, that's when I met everyone. Do you know what I mean? I met the big directors doing James Bond budgets, the big color graders. So I'm like, oh, wow, okay. This is actually a thing. I mean, like,
I've landed.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you feel like you've landed.
Yeah.
Also, like now, mum and dad are giving you a bit more respect because you're making money now. Do you know what I mean? You're living. I thought I was the man, but I still weren't fulfilled. I wasn't happy because, yeah, I'm making money. Yeah, I'm working in an industry that I want to work in, but I wasn't happy. Like, and I kept wondering, what the hell is wrong with me? Like, why am I not happy? I have money now. Like, what's going on? But in hindsight, I realized that I wasn't happy because I wasn't really living within my purpose.
Yeah.
And every now and again, my calling kept pushing me back to look at my notes, what I had initially written in my design futures.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so of course, everything else came thereafter. Yeah, different podcasts, long. When we have more time, we'll expand into story by story. The third thing, which is the funny one, that put me on my lowest. So, I'm obviously like, man, I'm a mandem, and I don't fall in love and rare. So I fell in love with some girl.
I shouldn't laugh now, but
I'm telling you, I told you you're gonna laugh. I told you you're gonna laugh. So I fell in love with some girl, beautiful girl. I won't mention her name because she's still around. She's probably married now, but her name is Jay, and I called her Jay.
Jay, you listening?
I called her Jay. Fell in love with her, and she was my everything at the time. This girl. So then my cousins come. You light skinned niggas, innit? My cousins come, and they came fresh off the boat. You know, they're like freshies, but they were handsome, boys. Like they were handsome. They looked like Chris Brown back then. Do you know what I mean? And they were twins. So, you know, me trying to flex some muscle, I introduced my cousins to them. And, you know, she gave them one of those looks. You know, like, you know when you know. Do you know what I mean? You know. So I'm like, this is my cousin. And she looked at him. And you could see.
My man was a piece of steak, fam.
Bruv, I saw that. And I tried to ignore it. Like, okay, maybe it's all in my head. No, brother, when you see it, don't ignore it. So, a couple of weeks down the line, she's like, I'm doing a sleepover, would you like to come? And I couldn't come because I was working. Do you know what I mean? So she's like, okay, would your cousin come? And I don't know why that didn't really like, do you know what I mean? It didn't hit me because I was like, okay, cool, maybe she's just trying to be nice because she's trying to get some brownie points as family and she want to, you know? So I speak to my cousins and I'm like, you know, Jay wants you to come over for a sleepover. A couple of our friends are going to be like, yeah, of course, you know, it's neither here nor there. They do the sleepover. Then everything is normal after that. But then I just noticed there was a bit of a shift in her behavior. And she wasn't saying nothing. Until one time, my cousin's like, bro, there's something that's burning on me, man. I need to tell you something. I'm like, what do you mean? Then he breaks it down to me. He's like, see that time we went to a sleepover, me and Jay, we did a thing. So I'm like, what? But like, bro, that was like a couple months back. Why didn't none of you tell me? Yeah. So he's like, I know, it's mad. So I'm calling Jay now, like, Jay, is there anything you have to tell me? She's like, no. Because, I mean, she's normal. So I'm like, women are wicked, bruv. Wicked. So then I break it down to her. Like, no, he's told me that. She's like, no, babe, I'm sorry. You're sorry a couple months down the line. Like, if you were really sorry, you would have told me beforehand.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. So I ain't having it. Like, this is not going to work. Right. So I'm thinking it's one of those facts. But then I was really like heartbroken. You know, like your first heartbreak. Like that was my first love. Bro, it hurts. I didn't realize the heartbreaks really hurt. You know what I mean? Like I thought it was a myth. Like people just say it hurts and it's, you know, it's figurative. Bro, my heart was in pain.
Yeah.
Man had to keep waking up to have cold showers because of how much pain my heart was in. And I thought, okay, cool. Maybe if I get back to her, it's going to mend stuff. You know what I mean? I was all kinds of madness. Then, and then it gets worse. So my other cousin, because remember the twins, also comes
my man,
and he confesses the same. And he says a couple of days after that, I did. So I'm calling her. Now we're broken up. I mean, we're not together. So I'm calling her up and I'm like, she's like, are we? Like, she's like, trying to be apologetic. I'm like,
she's like, are we good? And
are we good? I'm like, no, we're not. Like you didn't tell me about Jerome, but you also didn't tell me about friggin' Dane. So she's like, how do you know? I'm like, that's not the bloody point. So.
It's like, you're not sorry, man. You're not sorry.
So I feel like
Jay, you're not sorry.
She's not. She wasn't. So it was my first experience with love in its raw form.
Yeah.
And it broke me in its raw form.
Yeah.
And of course I did what black boys do, or any man does, to be honest.
I
became a harlot. Calling me a whore would be, you know.
That's like under.
Yeah, but I became a harlot.
Bruv, I think.
I mean, the biblical version, like anything. I mean,
rugby ball in the skirt.
Brother.
It's getting it firm.
And I was doing it, get in, break your heart. Get in, break your heart. Like, that was my ammunition.
Yeah. It sounds too familiar. I'm going to be quiet because, it sounds too familiar.
It's too familiar. You know what I mean? So that was like my third lowest point in life, because what it taught me is two wrongs don't make a right. Yeah. Because while I was breaking these people's hearts, what I was really doing is breaking my own.
Yeah.
Then I realized I'm expanding way too much energy. I'm constantly bitter. I'm constantly not satisfied. And I had to make a decision. that's not the man that I want. Because do you know what addictions do? They sort of give birth to other addictions.
Bruv.
I got addicted. So from there, I started getting addicted to gambling. That's why I hate gambling. I used to walk into the bookies and my game was roulette. One time I lost £27,000 on roulette. Now, you know what you do in the ends after having had the sort of history we've had of just, mugging people. You lose that kind of money, you want to make it back quickly.
Yeah, you're going to make it back.
Yeah. So all the dark thoughts were in my head. I knew exactly how, when, who. Do you know what I mean? But then I remember the judge, when I was much younger, the judge said to me, David, I'm giving you, and it's within those thoughts. Like I was like, I leave this bookies right now. I'm gonna go in this corner. I'm gonna put my hoodie on. I'm gonna get a strap, and I'm gonna mug this boy, mug that boy, do a couple, 3 mugs. I'm gonna have my money back. Then I'm gonna come back and win it back at the bookies. That's what was going on through my head. But then the moment I left the bookies, I remember the judge's voice saying to my dad, David Kazadi, we're giving you one last chance, and if you do your community service right, we will clear your record. And I just remembered, if I get caught one time from this thing,
done.
I'm done. I'm in jail till 2035.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's sort of the long and short of it. And then the rest was history. When I decided that I wanted to turn my life around completely, like I had to commit to turning my life around. And that's why when you see when I'm here now, and there's a couple guys who try me, innit? Like there's a couple guys, because I'm a corporate guy, so they just feel like I've been corporate my whole life. So they try me, they poke at me, and I'm just looking at them and just saying, if you really knew who you were testing, you probably wouldn't be testing. You probably wouldn't be testing. But of course, yeah.
Brother, you know what the funny thing is about all of this is, I remember meeting you because a couple of guys that were doing some stuff for you. I don't know, you were doing that blind date show.
Yes.
Right?
First project.
Yeah. And a friend of mine, he popped down and he was like, oh man, we're looking for music.
Right. Yes, I remember.
And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he's like, no, but he's this boy's from London.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, and I'm fresh pretty much as well. So I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Now let me come and see this guy and see what he's up to. And I get up there and I'm like, yeah, safe. Yeah, tell me more about what you need. And you're like, yeah, I just need music. When we talk about people that guidance not being there, right? My whole life, I've been on a path or on a trajectory that no one else has ever, in my family, in my circles, has ever been on.
Yeah.
And I was born and raised in Zim.
Right.
So where you're in the ends, and you're in England, you still have man them, Driss and them around the corner. You could see man who came from here and made it there. I had nothing like that.
Mad.
So everyone's looking at me like, this man's wasting his time.
Right.
So when I see people like yourself, in my head, I'm like, yeah, he's not going to get that guidance from nowhere.
Yeah.
So if I don't dish it,
absolutely,
then it's me who's to blame.
Of course.
So,
of course.
I understand in retrospect, even hearing you say that, I'm like, that has always been my driving,
Right.
And I see something similar in you.
Right.
Where you do spot talent because you're actually now working on the icon.
Yes.
Okay. So that just leading into that, you stumbled onto this show somehow with all of the work that you're putting in. People reached out, and Icon, if I'm not mistaken, is Nigerian.
The Icon.
The actual.
No. This is created by us.
Really?
Yeah, it's fresh from Z.
Go on.
Yeah, it's all us.
See. So you've seen a gap, and you want to help artists. You're filling that gap, but you're essentially creating a platform for new talent to shine.
Fact.
Okay. How did you what's been this thing that you just landed on this? Because you've gone through different stages. I mean, without giving too much scope, you Black Dollar came right after that. You shot this movie. You went on to a lot of this very controversial kind of
TV shows,
TV stuff,
yeah.
And then you've ended up in this space. I know what I'll say after, but tell us a little bit more about that journey. From Black Dollar to where we are now.
So it's always been part of the plan to do this, do that, do that. But then in trying to navigate, because again, we're all students of life and we're always trying things. I thought after I've done Black Dollar, I'm gonna make so much money that I won't need to do anything else but make movies once a year. That was a lie. Do you know what I mean?
It's like, where's the P?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
It's like-
it's that's not how it works. Then but again, you may not make the money you thought you were gonna make, but then you've learned stuff that you never would have learned unless you did it. So I was like, okay, cool, that's a lesson. Next thing. So looked at the TV landscape, and this is purely speaking for Zambia. Looked at the TV landscape, and I realized there is a monopoly on who controls TV distribution. And so unless I'm kissing up to someone, then I'm probably not going to get into that space. And again, I'm too gangster to be kissing up to no one. So I was like, I'm not doing that. And everyone was like, David, that's mad because that's how it works. And I'm like,
No.
if that's how it works for you lot, not for me. Do you understand? I would rather starve because I'm not a stranger to starving. Do you know what I mean? I've starved longer than I've eaten. Do you know what I mean? So I don't mind starving until I figure out a way to unmonopolize this monopoly. So people thought I was mad. Everyone's going out there, they're taking money from the same monopoly. And I'm like, yeah, do your thing, innit? Now, I can't really speak about starving, without sort of putting my cards on the table. When I say starve, I'm just talking more corporate stuff because I do come from a slightly privileged family, so they would always look after me. And so I want to sleep outside. I want not have a meal, but then I'm not going to drive the fanciest car because I'm starving in that sense. So, and I was prepared to do that even on this side because the option was always, if things don't work, I'm just going to go back to London and get my job at Pinewood. I mean, I've always had that option, which now I understand is privilege in itself because not everyone has that privilege. Does that make sense? So now that I've established the base, let me finish the story. So I quickly started realizing, and this is what I said about my Western training with the African learning that I sort of acquired had to find a way to merge, and that's what was going to make me powerful. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm not going to work with the monopoly. How do I work against the monopoly, but sort of create something that becomes sustainable? Because I'm not going to open a TV station now because that's just madness. Why am I going to open a TV station? Because then I need so much more content. How do I leverage on my skills as a filmmaker and a creator to create something that gets monetized? Because at the end of the day, you can make the best content, but if you can't make money from it, you're basically wasting time. Yeah. So that's when the TV stuff started coming through. So I'm like, all right, let's do one show that we're going to air strictly on social media. Because I noticed there was a trend. There were people who constantly kept using social media, but no one really realizing that they could monetize social media. So I'm like, okay, cool. I mean, I've seen this done already. And it gave me the confidence that it can be done because I had already seen it done in the UK. So we did a show and it popped. It was like everywhere. Everyone was talking about it and it wasn't on TV. And then I was like, okay, cool. Phase 1 done. Phase 2 is now that people love the show, how do we monetize it? Because if I'm constantly having to rely on sponsors to monetize, that's okay, but it's not sustainable. It also creates some sort of it creates some sort of monopoly in its own because you're always at the mercy of the sponsors. So got sponsors in, but then I had to find a way to get to the consumers without relying on the middleman, which at the time were TV stations. Yeah. So I'm like, what if I created some sort of app that would have people come and consume my content on the app? But I need a hook. So they watched the show for free for a very long time, quote unquote free, but sponsors were paying for it. And when the show got really good, I was like, okay, cool. This is the perfect time to move and migrate the traffic. And that was when we created Zizzle Plus, which was our streaming platform. In less than 3 months, we had over 257,000 subscriptions on Zizzle Plus who were coming in to watch The Divorce Club, which was the show that we had done. And all of them were either paying between $5 per month or $10 per, was it what, $5 per month? Or, anyway, I can't remember the figures, but let's run the unit cost. So then I was like, wow, that's money. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I've found the blueprint and I'm in the game. I felt like how I felt when I was at Pinewood, like I'm doing it. And then something else happened, which was another learning curve because I'm like, everyone's coming in to watch Divorce Club. Divorce Club's coming to an end. And then you started noticing people started unsubscribing. And you're like, why? What's going on? Well, they came to watch something that's done. Give them something else. Yes. But then you can't shoot something that quickly. No. So I'm like, okay, cool. Let me see if I can get content from the local guys. So now, in me trying to get content from the local guys, 2 things started happening. Because it was me asking, they overpriced everything. So if something cost 50,000 kwacha, because I was asking it cost $50,000. Do you know what I mean? So I'm just like, guys, this is a joke now, isn't it? Because how am I going to be sustainable at this? And the second thing that started happening was whenever we would get quote unquote cheaper version of the content, people will still unsubscribe. And when we did a survey, they said, we came to watch your content. Because anything else, we've seen it already. We see it on Zambezi Magic and all these other platforms that we see. Look at me mentioning names. So I'm like, but I can't physically put content out that quick because I'm not a studio. I'm just a production company. So now, okay, cool. That's not going to work. Let's shelve this for now. Put it on ice. Let's figure out a model that will allow us to become a studio where we can put out more content very quickly. In so doing, hit a recession. So now I hit a proper recession where I'm spending, but there's no money coming in because, like, why are people paying you? Because as a production company, if you're not doing commercials, you're not doing a TV show, you're not, like, how are you making your money? So now I'm like, bloody hell, I should have kept something going on. Do you know what I mean? Like, there should have been a show that should have been going on so that I'm making money, but it allows me to breathe. But then the problem that I also found is if I'm actively working on something, I'm not breathing. So I don't have time to work on the business because I'm constantly working in the business. David think. So I'm like, you know what? Let's take this recession as a blessing. Okay? So now I got employees because right now I'm sitting on like 80, 90, almost 100 staff that I'm basically managing on a daily. Yeah. So now can you imagine for an entire period of 6 to 7 months, I'm not getting direct income. So anything I'm paying and sourcing coming out of my pocket. So I'm drying out again. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, God, I thought we were done with this phase of my life. Do you know, like, why am I still going through this? Then at that point, what I didn't realize, which I realize now, is God was just trying to show me who's with me and who's not with me. And it was painful at the time. It was annoying. I was cussing and I was mad. But in hindsight, again, looking backwards, it all makes sense because people started falling off. People started making threats. People started showing me their true colors. Then you start realizing, wow,
that's who you are.
Wow, I'm harboring snakes, you know, I'm surrounded by proper snakes. And some of the snakes that I came to uncover was people who would call you bro, cuz, fam. And you're just like, wow. So now that I'm down, I'm not bro, fam, or cuz anymore. Now I'm, pay me my money. No problem, say less. You know what I mean? And I had to keep composure. And
okay, no, that's fine.
So
it's cool.
It made me resent people, but then when I got out of that headspace, I was grateful. I was happy, and I was just like, blessing in disguise. So, I had a lot of time because I had employees, the ones who stayed with me, who, and God bless their souls, man. These are like lovely people. Like they would eat when I'm eating. They would starve when I'm starving. Do you know what I mean? And there was no ifs, buts, or maybe. It was exactly that. Then and some of them aren't the best of staff members. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're not like, no, like the people who are easily expandable. Like I can get rid of you and replace you with someone in a heartbeat. But I don't have the money to replace you with. So why are you staying? And they're just like, I stay with you because I believe in you and I believe in the vision. And I was just like, freaking hell, man. So we got past it. And when we got past it, started making money again. Remember I said that thing about money runs out, didn't it? Started making money again. So then I sat down and I was like, okay, cool. What I need now is a system that is sustainable across the year. Not just something that happens now and then we move. So now, a movie is not sustainable across the year, especially in the Zambian climate, because
once you watch it's done.
It's a hit or miss. A series is also not the same because it takes a lot of money to get a series done. So then you have to work with what you have at your disposition. I have studios, I have equipment, I have a bit of money to be able to leverage on a few things with. So what I need is a show like The Divorce Club, but that's a bit more family driven and sits on the foundations and beliefs that I have. What do I really believe in? I believe in changing lives. Okay, cool. How do you change lives? And at that time, I had already opened Kazadi Music, the label. And I had already sort of changed one of my artists' life in Mordecai. So I'm like, okay, cool. What if we could do that for more than just Mordecai and do it over and over again? And before the icon, back then I was thinking, okay, cool. What if we just do an open cast? People come in, we get a few artists. And I was like, David, you've always had it as part of your plans. Let me show I'll show it to you. As part of your plans, what are people calling me? I'm on a podcast, guys. You've already, let me show you something. You've always had it as part of your plans to do, and this is like crazy, and this is why Design Futures saved my life. So can you see?
Go on. Everything.
Stay.
Everything.
You lot can see it too.
Make sure it's on. Can you see?
So you've always had that as part of your life and plans to empower and have some sort of talent show that empowers people.
Yeah.
So now I had to now start designing. So I'm like, okay, cool. I want to do a talent show, but I don't want it to be another Idol. I don't want it to be another X Factor. I don't want it to be another Britain's Got Talent. How do I make it unique? And I didn't want to call it a got this or that. So then I got with a team, we brainstormed a few ideas, and then the icon came to life, and I was like, great. But then what makes the icon unique? Because talent shows aren't exactly a unique concept. It's been done over and over again. The uniqueness of the icon now became how we Africanized it. Do you know what I mean? Where, for example, in some episodes of the icon, you will see for the very first time in a talent show where people have to be able to sing songs that are specific to tribes. That's not even a Western concept. Do you know what I mean? Like, what do we have as tribes? Do you know what I mean? And
Salman Kenyan.
Yeah. and in so doing, you're restricted to playing instruments from specific tribes. Now, what does that do? It empowers us as a people.
Yeah.
It exposes us as a people and allows other people to learn, which are all the things that I stand for.
Yeah.
And when the winner wins, they would have been tested across the board. Yeah. So then, that idea now makes sense. Now, remember, I had done this before with the Divorce Club, but the Divorce Club wasn't a great product for corporate clients because it was a bit too messy. So now I have a family product that corporates love, and Zambia doesn't have its own version of this that's, like ongoing. So now corporates are like, this is great, we're going to jump on it. But I still remember, had I not experienced what it feels like to have corporates drop out, I would have been like, this is great, I'm happy. No. I remember what corporates are like when they drop out. I even remember what employees are like when they drop out. So I'm coming and approaching everything now with a pinch of salt. So I get the corporates, we sign them on, and they're happy to do this. And it's, I have some of the best partners on this project. But then I remember that when it's all said and done, you have to be getting a penny from each person who's watching. So they watch the show, but at some point, when they watch, they'll pay for it.
You have to find a way of converting your audience. Like in business, we have it's quite a simple thing. When you think about it, you have a hypothesis.
Yes.
Right? And how you test that hypothesis is not going in and asking, would you buy the shirt? It's saying, buy the shirt.
Buy the shirt, 100.
So you can't say you have a good something if people are not willing to
100%,
to pay for it.
100%.
So I know where you're going. So carry on.
So designed it in such a manner, and that now that you've got something like that going on, the one thing that you want to make sure that you control is quality control. Do you remember I said some of the staff who left were very competent, but they left because I was down and under. So some of the ones who stayed aren't exactly the best of the best, you know what I mean? Like they're still learning, but they're loyal, and they're loyal to me, and they're loyal to the vision. So we now have to make this thing work with the people that I have.
Yeah.
Now, I know that it's not going to be smooth running. Now, I know that I'm probably going to have to wear multiple hats because I'm trying to do, but then I've started to appreciate loyalty.
Yeah.
I've started to appreciate loyalty.
Yeah.
Because anyone who's loyal to you when they don't have to be loyal to you should eat with you when
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it became that kind of thing. So we started the show. There was a few hiccups here and there, a few things here and there. But then we've kind of found a way to stabilize things, and things are working to the extent where some of the corporate partners are like, we want to book for the next season up to 10 seasons down the line. Yeah. So what that means for me is in a good period, the Icon Zambia has a solid 5 seasons, if not more. That's completely solidified. But that's just Icon Zambia. I've already thought Icon Nigeria, Icon Botswana, Icon Zimbabwe.
Like, you heard me say that, and I was like, is it not like...
Icon Namibia. All these places where, there's talent, but they don't necessarily have such platforms to be able to expand. But that can only be facilitated by the fact that the one that we've done in Zambia is done to the best of its ability. Yeah. So that's what it is. So we give someone life change. I mean, the person who's going to win the show wins a Mercedes-Benz GLA. Okay, this is some people who have never had freaking cars. I mean, I want a bloody Mercedes-Benz GLA.
Rough.
They win a fully furnished house, like fully, like not rented.
Can I
That's there. They win that. They win cash, medical insurance, and shopping vouchers for a year. So like,
Bruv.
and a recording contract.
Bruv. Like, you know what the funny thing is about even hearing this? Like, people don't understand what it takes to, half of the time being the person that's heading something, you don't eat until everyone else eats. And this is something that I want to nail this home because you've mentioned something that is amazing.
Yeah.
But as I said, I know and you know that you're the last person that actually ever gets to eat. And that's part of building a company.
Of course.
You know, it's a beautiful thing to hear how you've transitioned from where you were. Because I mean, I was messaging you from Black Dollar through it all. And I was like, bruv,
What's
no.
happening? Change
Bruv.
this. Don't do that. Avoid that.
Stop doing that. And I can see him now.
Oh God, I swear.
It's like ticking in his head, and he's like, I hate this guy.
No, but bang on. It was bang on. It was because you know, like, and I'm older now. You know, slightly wiser. You start appreciating, and this is a caption I'm going to write later on today. The older you get, the less you have to worry about money, the more you appreciate genuine sound advice. And that's deep to me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surrounded by leeches. I'm surrounded, no, on the real, like I'm surrounded by people who constantly want stuff from me.
People that take.
They just want. They just
take it.
want.
Yeah.
And I'm not in a place where I necessarily need anything from anyone because I'm quite solid. But what I need is genuine advice. To be able to have something present to someone and say, bro, do I go left or do I go right? And they give you genuine sound advice, invaluable. So to have had that, even before I knew I needed it, through you, blessing. And that's why I can't take you for granted. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you know what I mean? And we're pals, but I can't take you for granted because you could have been giving me some dumb advice. Do you know what I mean? You could have been the other guy. Then I would have found myself in a lot more problems than solutions. So I'm grateful for that and I appreciate it. And I crave more of it. Like now more than ever, I want real friends who just give me advice.
Bruv. I mean, it's vice versa. Like I think, we're talking about this, and I'm only mentioning it because, like, people know you. As I said, you've established a brand in a space where you mention your privilege, which is also a beautiful thing to hear. You know, I get where I'm coming from. Is I'm building from a space where that privilege, it never really ever came to the table.
Right.
Like, it's not that I don't have family with money.
Of course.
That's not it.
Yeah,
but as I said, what I was doing was so far-fetched and so out that people were just like, nah. And getting to this point where, in my life, where I'm giving all sorts of different people, like I do a lot of business consultation for people that are working for companies like TFL, you know? Yeah. And when you're talking to them and you realize, oh, actually people value what you're saying, not because of what you've done, but because you're genuine in that interaction.
Yes.
You know, and that's, I think, the powerful thing is most people, as you said from the beginning, they are talented and they just don't realize they're talented. But most people, they have something to give.
Yes.
Right? They just don't realize that they have something to
Absolutely.
give. And that is kind of exactly the same thing. Like you might call it talent, but in general, we all have something to give.
100%.
And if you come to any relationship with that giving mindset, that I'm here and I'm going to give wholeheartedly, you will receive.
Absolutely.
So, like, I'm going to close this off real quick because we could go on forever, brother. We could go on forever.
We can talk.
Yeah.
We don't mind talking.
But now you are CEO of 2 companies, actually.
4.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's all part of the group now.
Okay, so you're the CEO of the group. And you got a whole lot happening. You're still trying to keep that creative side ticking. What's next for David Kazadi?
Good question, no? And I've been asking myself that same question quite a bit. Do I have... So, there's a few... In my plan, which I sort of review every year, I sort of assess what I want to do, okay? In one's quest for success, we tend to forget to live.
Yeah.
Okay? Like we forget to live. And this is respective of what you think success means to you. Okay? For me, I needed to have more money, more access, more this. I mean, that's what it was for me. And so what I sacrificed in return for that was time, relationships, meaningful relationships, and just self-knowledge. Do you know? Like, I know who I am as far as the dreams are.
Yeah.
I don't know who I am outside of the dreams. And I hope people get it, because it took me having to get to the space to realize, David, who are you outside of these things? You know? So I had to readjust my ambitions to consider me in my dreams. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you, brother? Yeah. Like, I had to include me in my dreams.
Yeah.
And by that, bro, I from 17, I've been chasing the dream, you know? So I say to a lot of people, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't go clubbing. When I go on holiday, I'm on holiday for like 2-3 days and I have to leave. You know what I mean? The longest I've been on holiday, because you're constantly, you know what I mean? You're trying to make things work. So one of the things that I never paid attention to was that, and this is weird coming from me, there is a life outside of all of this. I'm not married, and marriage was never a thing on my list.
Yeah.
I was like, who cares? Who wants it? And I'm sitting there and thinking, okay, David, you're going to be 35 in just a few years now, okay? You don't have marriage as your ambitions. Are you all right? Do you think you're going to be young forever? Or do you want these things you're building, this legacy, to be given to dogs and a charity? Do you know what I mean? So now, including myself, is, okay, I need to now intentionally find a spouse, or, you know, at least pay attention. Because, and the spouse is not a slave queen or a baddie, because these come like friggin' dogs on a bone. You know what I mean? I'm looking for a wife. Yeah. Do you know? And that don't mean come and be like, I'm the wife. That's not what this is. You know what I mean? I'm a finder when I find
they all
that's not what that means. Do you know what I mean? So let me rephrase. I'm looking for the qualities of a wife in my women or my woman. Okay. Then I'm trying to understand, who do I want to become as a father, which I'm going to potentially be or inevitably be one of these days. And when do I want to be a father? Then I want to decide, when does David want to actively stop working and build systems so that the systems work for him so David can live? Do you know what I mean? So that's like what I'm actively planning to do and including myself in. But to get to that, there's 3 more steps. So one, I need to strengthen the systems that I have across the various businesses. 2, I need to be able to get to a point where I am not the CEO or I'm not the engine running these things, and there are people who are capable to run these things and I just oversee them. That's the second step. The third step, which is what we're laughing at, I want to build a theme park. That's it. Do you know what I mean? Once I've built a theme park or water park or whatever it is, I'm done. Yeah. And I want to, and it sounds funny, but I want to, what's the word? I want to actively retire no later than 40. I want to live.
Yeah, I think we're in the same bracket in terms of that. I'm gonna add something to that, because when you talk about who you are outside of the dream, when you dissect the dream, which is something that, like you said, like you've been building from 17, I've been building from 6. You know what I mean? So like I've known my whole life.
Jeez, man.
Like I've been on stage 6 onwards. Jeez. I've been writing from like 11 onwards. So you can ask everyone. Like they've known that that's me. Yeah. Like by the age of 15, 16, I had full national colors because I had produced over like 50 something like productions, you know, in terms of theater. So I've only been this person. Right. And I started to question first my life at that point in Manchester, England. I went through something very similar. A lot of dark thoughts. Yeah. I remember being stood on a building and thinking, nah, this is it. I'm done. And a friend pulled me off the building and he held me and he said, there's so much that you have to offer. You've helped so many of us and you don't even know.
Wow.
And I was like, rah. And then a voice went off in my head, and my father said this to me before I'd left Sim. He said, to father your kids is to father the world.
Oh.
Because the world impacts your kids.
Right.
And you want your kids to impact the world.
Wow.
And I was like, whoa, this man's like... Deep. So why I think you would be an amazing father. I've seen what you like with kids, man. Like you're good. But the fact that you're building people, you're already fathering.
Right.
It's not much different. The fact that you have got so many people you're responsible for and you're trying to guide and push them in certain directions, you're already fathering without even knowing what it is.
Right.
You call yourself you hear business coach, mindfulness coach. Like most of these people are trying to help people.
Yes, of course.
They're trying to be parents. Yeah. They're trying to help people move forward. So, one, it's not as separate as you think it is. Okay. You and that space.
Yes.
You are that space.
Right.
David Kazadi is this.
Right.
Even as a father, this is who you're going to be. This. You see me when I'm shooting. My kids are around.
Yeah.
And my wife and them are like, oh, it's getting late. I'm like, yeah. This is their thing. This is their thing. It's not mine.
Of course.
Of course. It's like you ask my son, and he's like, yeah, our business are underrated individuals. Right. He knows. Right. That's us. Right. Right. Both of them. Right. And one's 3 and one's 7. Wow. So give yourself the opportunity to, while you're in your element, right, to be able to show them you in your element. Because there's nothing greater than a child, whether it's a daughter or a son, seeing their parent do what they do best.
Right.
Because it tells them something about their parents and about themselves.
Right.
That you can't express with words. So you're gonna do amazing things, bruv. You're already doing amazing things. And
appreciate you, man.
that theme park thing, that why he said we laughed is because I've got the exact same thing. To bring this thing to a close, real quick, if there was one thing that we could leave behind here before we, wrap it up, what would you want to tell the people there?
Don't let success get to your head. Don't let failure get to your heart. Keep going. Things never make sense forward. They always, somehow, make sense backwards. That's it.
Man, bless up. Bless up. Thank you for having me, being on this thing, bruv.
This was therapeutic. I feel like I've gone to see a therapist, man.
Yeah, man. These things, it means a lot to me because you are an inspiration for a lot of people.
Thank
you are the embodiment of the return. People, we always talk about, what happened in colonization and slavery and stuff. But there's a lot of people that are coming back home.
Yeah.
And you're the embodiment of that. And you're showing that coming back and just being part of, the community can make the difference and be the difference.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And to everybody out there, remember, subscribe. Check out Al Kebulan as well. David's going to be directing. I'm going to try and get him back full on, movie mode. I'm tired of this man being an executive. I'm tired of being an executive. We just need this is going to be a creative thing that we've been working on for a while. David and I have been going back and forth on a number of ideas. Yeah. So look out for what's to come. Subscribe, check out Kazadi Films. And thank you guys for watching. Love. Stay blessed. Peace.
Okay. Nice one, mate. That was nice, isn't it?